Good evening to all my fellow spiritually ratchet friends and family. Welcome to all of our new and curious. Just to catch you up, Spiritually Ratchet is a visual podcast that you can catch me on every Sunday evening live on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. After that, I'll send out the audio podcast version on Spotify, Apple Music, and anywhere else that the Anchor streaming allows me to stream to. So who's Spiritually Ratchet? I'm Spiritually Ratchet. I'm Arbra, not Barbara. And I'm on my walk. I'm on my spiritual path to a deeper relationship with God. But at the same time, I'm just like you. I'm a sinner. I have questions. I've got habits. I've got views. I've got experiences. And they're not all squeaky clean. So I created a safe place for me and for people like me to talk about it. This is a judge-free zone. We'll discuss things that are too holy for the ratchet and too taboo for the spiritual. There'll be strong language, trust me on that. There will be adult content. I swear to God, adult is probably not even a strong enough word. There will be unpopular opinions. So this is definitely for the 18 and up and not a place where if you don't mind discussing the hard stuff and being uncomfortable, you can leave now. But there also will be tons of jokes. There will be understanding. There will be building of bridges. There will be love. There will be prayer. And prayerfully, there will be healing. Thank you again for hanging out with me and enjoy the show.
That at the name of Jesus, every knee shall bow. So I want every blood washed believer to not wait until then. And if you've ever gone through something, you know right here that there's something about the name. Something else. Something about the name Jesus. Something about the name. Something about the name Jesus. It's the sweetest name. Yeah. It is the sweetest name. Sweetest name I know. I know. And I love that name. Oh, how I love the name Jesus. Oh, how I love the name Jesus. It's the sweetest name. Yeah. It's the sweetest name. Just take a minute and explain to him what you're really trying to say. What you really trying to say. Some people say I'm crazy, but I can't explain. I can't explain the power that I feel when you call his name. When I call your name, that fire. Said it's just like fire. Where's it at? Where's it at? Shut up in my mood. Holy Ghost. When the Holy Ghost gets to moving, said he won't leave me alone. Swing that with us, y'all. Swing that with us. Everybody. Something about the name Jesus. Something about the name. Something about the name Jesus. It's the sweetest name, yeah. It is the sweetest name. Sweetest name I know. Wait.
Ooh-wee.
Did you need that?
Oh, I'm like you. I grew up in the church. So when I watch videos like that or watch performances like that, I get the message. The message comes through real quick. Then because of my mind, it goes off into other places. And then I have thoughts that I have to suppress.
We'll discuss those later.
Hey.
Welcome to the show. You haven't been on my show yet. We've been on 1,800 different shows together, but you hadn't been on Spiritually Ratchet.
No, I haven't. And boy, you pushing it because it's damn near my bedtime.
I know. That's why I started an hour early just for you.
Yes, I know. I appreciate it.
No worries. I needed you today. So Everybody knows me. Tell us who you are.
I'm your boy Hendrix, from Mash the Gas or Happy Hour with Hendrix. Yeah, this is my first time on the show, but been doing Mash the Gas for what, 4 years now.
Yeah.
Um, I'm an Aggie.
Go Aggies.
Yep, avid Saints fan. Diehard Saints fan.
As long as
Um,
it's not the Cowboys. That's great.
I'm a Saints fan. I don't care about no other team but the Saints. Your team can do what they want to do. As long as we not playing each other, I really don't care about what your team do. 2020 football season, there is an exception, but that's another story. So if you follow me on Master Gas, so you got access to my personal page, you already know the history about that, of why this year I'm going in on the Cowboys. Another story, different time. But,
it's hilarious.
Yeah, I think it's funny. But yeah, a little bit about me. Let's see. I'm an engineer by schooling. I've done 20 years in quality. So I have ample knowledge of quality
Everything.
systems, pathogen mitigation, FDA, USDA, pharma.
Good Lord.
Just a
We
little
call
bit
you the intellectual.
Okay, there you go. Sum it up in one word. Yes.
That is exactly why we call you the intellectual. So that being said, that is why I needed you today, because we discussed a couple of weeks ago, I think Q and I did, about voting.
Okay.
And he was raised in a house where if you don't vote, you die kind of thing. Like they were diehard voters. Everybody had to vote. I was not ever taught to vote. That was actually something we didn't do intentionally because I was raised Jehovah's Witness. So
that explains some things. That explains some things. Okay. The circle is complete now. I see it.
It is. You understand now? Ooh, okay. I'm not sure I want you to explain to me what you know, but okay. We'll discuss that one later.
Fair enough.
So I was doing some research and I found some random questions that were considered highly asked questions. And I wanted to see if you could give me your opinion on some of them and then just tell me what the importance is, especially with this election, why we need to vote. So would you like the questions first or you want to give me your spiel first?
Well, I'll give you my spiel. I grew up in a family that voting was taken very seriously. It was never said who or what you should vote for, just that if you do not vote, you do not have a voice. And if you do not use your voice that is given, don't complain. To the point where my family actually has a group chat that we have, that anytime any elections are coming up, we're texting each other. Hey, did you vote yet? Just a reminder to get out and vote. However, my family was also part of suffrage movement. They were also a part of the civil rights movement. So these things my family takes very seriously. Hey, Q, how you doing? Yeah, so voting in my family is taken very seriously. And then I remember the first election, I didn't even know that I was allowed to vote because I wasn't 18 yet. However, because I turned 18 shortly after the election, I was actually allowed to vote. And my family was like, no.
Really?
Vote. Yeah.
I did not know that. So if you are like, what's the window there?
90 days.
So if you're turning 18 within 90 days of election day, which falls on the first Tuesday of November, you are allowed to vote. That is good to know because my niece turns 18, but I'm sure she's not registered.
Right. But again, this is where having a family that's involved. When I went to go get my driver's license, my first driver's license,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, you're not old enough to vote yet. Okay. However, the next year came around, it was like, well, you're still not old enough, but for the election, you will be eligible. So go ahead and register. Went ahead and registered. Now, things have changed. So I don't know the nuances now, but I know back then, I just went up to the driver's license place and registered to vote because I went to the one in Cedar Hill where there wasn't a line. I dipped in, dipped out, took me like 5 minutes. I was done.
Yes. So, are you feeling
Hey,
puny? Y'all feel good?
I don't feel 100% today. My allergies are turned up times 12, and the weather change is really getting to me for some reason, and so I found myself this morning blowing my nose, no coughing, scratchy throat a little bit. So I took a little bit of medication, trying to sleep it off, trying to just feel better. And then because I have no neck, my neck is that big. It gets harder as I get older because I have a small neck. I get regular crooks and strains.
I have so many questions about that statement that kind of contradict in my head stuff that we've talked about. But like, how do you? Never mind. We'll discuss
Let me
that.
tell you something. Let me tell you something. There is a way. There's more than one way to skin a cat.
Okay.
Good answer. Good answer.
If
Good answer.
you
Oh
say
yeah.
so, if you say so.
But I feel okay. I still have to go to work. And so I feel a little bit better to do that or whatever. But so shout out to everybody. How y'all doing? What's up, Hendrix?
So what's up? Now,
Yeah.
I will tell you this. One of the things you need to do once the show ends, take you a hot towel and place it over your face. Cover your
Okay.
entire face, especially your nose and your mouth, with a hot towel. That vapor will help clear you up, and it'll also help attract the allergens when you exhale. It'll trap them in the water and the towel. So
Hmm.
you need to do that. It'll help you breathe and it'll help you expel all that stuff. Plus, it'll help loosen that congestion up in your face too, like in your
Okay.
nostrils, your sinuses. So yeah.
Yeah.
Now you will have to redo this regularly, but keeping a hot face on a hot towel on your face help clear you up a little bit faster.
Gotcha.
And you need to go ahead and take your allergy medicine and need to take it for the next week. Don't be BSing.
Yeah.
You need to
Yeah.
stay
I'm
on
gonna go
for the
get.
next week.
Yeah. I'm gonna go get me
Every
some
day.
more tomorrow. I took my last one today. I usually take Allegra.
Take your,
Allegra. It
yeah,
helps me.
that's what B uses. Take your Allegra in the morning and take Benadryl at night.
Yeah, I'm gonna go buy me some more tomorrow. So, because I just took my last one, I know when I get off work, I just go grab some and continue the regimen.
And if
Yeah.
you're having problems, I don't know if yours kicks in immediately. They have them that dissolve under your tongue. Those are fast acting, but I like Alka-Seltzer. See, don't you even go there. I saw that smile and you going to hell. Gasoline jaws on.
Why? Because I know what to do with my tongue.
See? And this is why we are spiritually ratchet. We were on here for a good, wholesome conversation about voting.
Look here.
So it's my fault.
Your tongue is just like any other instrument of your body. If you
Right.
master a skill using an instrument of your body, why should you not be proud of it? Oh, hold on.
I am not with you people today. Reggie, I'm usually able to make you blush, and you making me blush a little bit today. I don't know how to feel about this.
Mm.
Okay.
Try good. Table
So,
turn.
kind of like it. So Q, we were talking about voting, and I know you and I talked about it before on the show, how
Mm-hmm.
you were raised with avid voters, and I was not. So I needed y'all's help talking about voting, some of the reasons why you should vote, and then answering some of the frequently asked questions.
Okay.
So, you want questions first, or you want to give me your feel of why people should vote?
Well, let me tell you why I think people should vote. I'll start there. First off, yes, I was raised in a voting family. You know, we were taught that not only is it your God-given right to vote, but we were also taught that voting is your way of self-expression and what you want to kind of see go on. And so, see, voting to let me do it like this: voting to minorities should be as important as the majority, and I'm saying that to say that we should feel so entitled to vote that we should have big turnouts in every election that there is to have. We should be able to have that in our lives like that. And so, we have people who are in the military that are defending our country, that continues to give us these rights that we have, not just voting rights, but be able to talk and say what we want to say and go where we want to go, and not have so many, issues that that we still have in this time. And so voting is not only a God-given right, but it's your voice expression. And then one more thing, I think that people should vote because you want to be able to teach the generation after you how important it is to have your voice heard. People always say, well, my voice don't count, my vote don't count, all this, that, and the other. Well, if you are an avid voter and they send me a report card every year, it tells you, I'm sorry, every 4 years. Let me take that back. Every 4 years, you receive a report card. Your report card tells you when you started voting from day one, from the first time you voted. I turned 18 in February the 12th. So I was eligible to vote in the midterm elections the year that I turned 18. And I was able to vote for president that next year. And so, when you have that good feeling to look around and see that there are people that really actually care, that's your color, that's out there without, back then it wasn't so much as vote suppression, as it is in your face now. Back then, they just really they went door to door. They sent you mailings. They did a whole lot of stuff, Republican and Democrat. Republicans, they came to the hood. See, some people forget that, and Reggie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I remember Republicans coming to our school to talk to some of those teachers and to talk to some of these people. They were campaigning for real, for real back then, and would talk to the seniors. When we were in high school, they came to talk to us about voting. We was like, man, why I want to vote? And then they would say, listen, it's important for you to vote because it's important for your school funding. It's important for everything. And
I got out of school just a few years behind y'all, but they never talked to us about voting.
They came to the hood. Republicans came to the hood. Democrats did too, but I remember Republicans coming to the hood. I remember.
And I hate to interrupt you, Q, but I remember I told my mom and dad about them coming to the school, and their mindset was, see, they're trying to get you when you're young, pull you in when you're young, and that's fine to get you out and voting, but they're trying to pull you into a party. But like my parents always say, do your research.
Always.
Number one,
right.
Always. They're like, we can give you our opinion, but it's our opinion. You need to do your own research and come up with your own opinion about who to vote for, why it's good, why it's not. And this is why I consider myself an independent, because there are some things Republicans do that I agree with. There's some things that Democrats do that I agree with. There's stuff that both parties do that I don't agree with.
Right.
When you rolling with racists, I can't fuck with you. Period.
Right.
One of the things that turned me off about George Bush was the Hopwood decision. That decision, where it was a University of Texas law student who did not get in, and he said the only reason he didn't get in was because of affirmative action, and a black girl got in. But what everybody doesn't know, her credentials were better than his. His parents had money.
Mhm.
That decision alone cost me 80 grand in scholarship money. 80 grand. This is why when Bush was okay with that, fuck Bush and anybody that roll with it. You cost me 80 grand. Personal, very detailed, and then on top of that, you add the racism. I don't fuck with you. Now, that was Bush. I can separate Bush from the rest of the Republicans. However, if you roll with Bush or you roll with racism, I don't fuck with you. Period. I don't care what
It's
else
got
you do.
something going on in the background.
Huh?
I said I hear something in the background. Oh, no.
Yeah. Ain't nothing on but the camera. Me and you.
It
and
was
you.
this one.
Oh. So everybody has their own personal identities and the things that they view and the priorities in which they view them in. And that's fine. But there should be a limit. I have several friends that are diehard Republicans. However, we take the politics out, the things we agree on: family, education, the youth, and providing for our families. Those 4 things we agree on. Now, how we approach them is different, but those 4 things we agree on in totality. So they have a different view of it, so their votes fall a different way, but you take that out of it, and they're still good people.
Fundamentally, it's still okay.
Huh?
I said fundamentally, y'all are still okay.
We
Has
just disagree
this
on policy.
election this election and the last one caused any issues?
No. They initially voted for Trump because they felt like if you run the country like a business, then we should see some great decrease in the deficit. And I understand their thought process initially because they were saying, well, we want to lower the debt for our children. That makes sense. I can follow that. So they wanted to vote for a businessman that could do that and run a business, run the country like a business, streamline it, make it more efficient, less waste, make it more profitable. Okay, I see that. They don't agree with Trump on a lot of his personal antics at all, even in the first election. But then they were like, we can't fuck with Hillary. I can agree with you on that.
It was the lesser of 2 evils, but you were still going to hell with gasoline drops.
Right. And so they were like, well, we're going to vote for Trump. Okay, cool. Now, this election, they said, fuck Trump.
They could only take it for those 4 years, huh?
And they said that the whole pandemic thing, the lies, the scandals, not releasing the taxes, the border wall incident where they caged the children, they're like, that's too much. So
let's include the racism, the rape charges.
Well, that's what I was talking about, his personal antics. They grouped all that together.
Do you still? But that's just me. I don't understand.
I don't agree with their logic, but this was their argument because I asked the same question. Their logic was, okay, if you see the head of any organization that's making a lot of money, very visual, there's always going to be something that comes up. Now, the degree of which it comes up, was it a strong argument for me? For me, it was a BS argument. But for them, it made sense. And I don't have to agree with what you're saying. I have to understand your thought process. I don't have to agree with it, but I need to understand your thought process. Are you able to explain your thought process? They were able to explain it. So I'm like, I don't agree with you, but I follow the thought process. I don't agree with it, but I can follow the logic in your head about why you're doing what you're doing. So even though I don't agree, okay, cool. But this time,
See,
they said they're not voting. Period.
They're not voting for either
see,
one.
this time, like,
They're not voting at all.
see, that's a thing for me. See, I know, just like Reggie says, we know what's at stake in this election. We know not just, we're not talking about just the presidential election. We're talking about the U.S. Senate. We're talking about the Railroad Commission, the Federal Railroad Commission. Do you guys understand what that means? The Railroad Commission controls anything that comes into this country by rail. They control the funding that you receive at your home for your public transportation. This is serious. Subways, everything. This stuff is really important. And so I'm with Reggie. I said this a while back. Don't get me wrong. Well, I always said, because of the candidates that we had, I know Reggie was Bernie all the way. I know Reggie was Bernie. I was Joe all the way. I always said, before he even ran, I said, Uncle Joe, if he run, he's gonna win the nomination, and he's gonna
Uncle
beat
Joe's the creepy dude at the picnic that you tell all the little girls not to go to. Don't go fuck it, Uncle Joe.
Right.
So I kind of get, because I've been doing this so long, I kind of gauge who was going to win. Like I knew when I voted for Hillary Clinton. Actually, when she ran for the Democratic nomination against Barack Obama, and I voted for Clinton the first time because I felt like that Barack was going to get into the office and be used, be the token, and be used. That was my feeling, and that's my opinion, and that was my right to feel that way and vote that way.
Right.
And so when Barack got the nomination, I said, okay, but we got, like Reggie said, we got to follow the mindset. We got to figure out what you're talking about, even though I may not really almost like you that much, because you're the only person that can kind of represent my values a little bit. I got to see what you're saying. And so I said this a couple of weeks ago. I feel like the Independence Party of America is not included at all. There are people out there who needs to have an opinion that is not far left, far right. I consider myself really kind of conservative person. I'm not talking about, my behaviors, because I know I'm from the hood and stuff like that. I get that, yeah. But my values are very conservative, like I don't like the child support issue. That bothers me. I don't that certain things about that kind of stuff bothers me. I do not like the way that our men are treated by police. I don't like the way that women get away with murder when they're men trying to take care of their children, and the law says no. Just because you got receipts because you bought the little nigga some this, that, and the other, that ain't taking care of him. That's a luxury. See, stuff like that, I think things should be fine-tuned. There are things that I believe that Joe Biden believes that I don't. There are things that I feel like if I want to vote for you, like Reggie, like hear me on this one. If there's a candidate out there that say, you know what, if you put me in office, what I would do is make racism illegal in this country, as such as Hitler is to Germany, you'll have my attention. Nobody can.
Ain't nobody gonna do that.
Nobody seems to think that much, that my skin color matters to me when I go to these white folk jobs. No one thinks that I'm in danger when I can drive down the street in my Mercedes in Irving to pull me over because I'm in the same kind of car. Old boy just sped through faster than me. His car a little better than mine. Costs more than mine. But because I'm my color and I got on a cap on my head, I'm doing something wrong. See, we don't think about those kinds of things. It's not just about like Black Lives Matter. It's about your value in what you see that's going to make your life better for your children's children and their children. And so when I look at voting, the Independence Party of America doesn't even exist. There's no candidate. I think we need younger presidents. I'm tired of these old ass presidents. I want to see somebody, Reggie, our age, run this country. I want to see somebody,
That would be
Arber's age become the vice president of this country. I want to see youthfulness in this country. I want to see different
because
things,
they were raised
happen.
on racism and slavery and it being okay. We have to look at the caliber of age ranges that we have, both in the Senate and in all of our judge positions. These are all white men.
They're old as
They
hell.
don't give a damn about us.
They're old as hell.
And I can say that on different levels. They don't give a damn about us as women, and they don't give a damn about us as Black people or brown people. And I don't know if you noticed a couple of weeks ago, they slid in a bill in Austin to allow social workers to not have to respond to gay and transgender and disabled. So if you're trying to get, on any kind of public assistance, any kind of anything that requires a social worker for any reason, whether it be mental health or anything.
And this is the thing that irritates me about the Republican Party. They do shit on the slide without a whole bunch of
Yes.
of vibrato. They do it on the slide, and well, we put it in, and we followed these guidelines, and they do the bare minimum. They do the bare minimum when they want to get something
the
done.
only people that knew about it were the people in Austin, because we got the neighborhood up here, and it would have been all the smoke.
And this is where the youth have to learn how to participate at an early age. Never saying that it's too late to get involved, but the earlier you get involved, like most people our age don't even know about the Hopwood decision, but that impacted me directly. When I went to A&M's campus.
Question about that.
Mm-hmm.
My question. Oh, go ahead. Tell yours, and then I'll ask my question.
Okay. So when I went to A&M's campus, it's a predominantly white institution.
Mm-hmm.
Black, Hispanic, and Asian combined did not make up 4% of the population. And at that time, there were 64,000 undergrad students. And we didn't make up 4% of the population. When I found out that our incoming class of freshmen decreased by 60% compared to the previous year because of the Hopwood decision, a 60% decrease in minority enrollment in a university. That's huge. But what it started me doing is thinking, okay, well, why? Well, why? Well, why? And then I started getting the answers, and it's just like the people that get stuff moved through real quickly and quietly, they have one thing in common. They have a lot of money, and then they rub elbows, and they put money in people's pockets, and it's not being brought to the forefront. But go ahead, ask your question. I'm sorry.
So one of the questions that I have is, what is the popular vote versus the electoral college? Can y'all explain those to me?
Okay. The popular
Okay, we say, Reggie, you give the political answer, not give the ghetto answer.
Right.
That sounds
popular vote is just that. It is a culmination of all the votes in the country and who wins. Just one vote per person, and they count each vote individually.
Okay.
The electoral college, what this is, well, the idea of the electoral college was to make sure that each and every county of each and every state is represented. And what happens is, just because you might win the popular vote, but because you don't win enough counties in that state, then you don't necessarily win that state's electoral vote. Now, every state divides their electoral vote slightly different, and it's up to the states. The states get to decide how their electoral votes are split. Some will say, hey, if you win the popular vote, you get all of our electorate vote. Some will say, well, if it's a 60-40 split, whoever wins the 60, you get one. Whoever wins the 40, you get one. every state breaks it down slightly different. But in totality, you need a total of 270 votes, electoral college votes, to become the president of the U.S. And that is the majority of the electorate in the U.S. Most people will say the electoral college should be done away with simply because if the popular vote and the electoral college vote don't add up, the popular vote should win because this is what the majority of Americans want in the country. People that don't want that are in the minority and they don't look like us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm gonna say this. You know, Reg is absolutely correct, and honestly, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna give, like Reggie was saying, just kind of reiterate what he was saying. I remember when I first started voting, that this is when they were introducing the electoral college, because people were feeling like that their candidates that they wanted were not winning. Now it's not like that. If you think about it, if you know, the what tips the scale is the electoral college. Like right now, if you guys have been paying attention, like I've been looking at the polls, but I've been looking at the polls to kind of gauge where the voting is. Right now, we're at 50 million early votes right now. Okay, the hot states that we're looking at is Wisconsin, Michigan, and Wisconsin, Michigan, and what's the other state I like?
Pennsylvania.
Philly, shout out to Philly. So what happens is these states are key states because these are states that Trump won. He's doing, Texas is in the pink when it's normally red because we're a competitive state right now. Texas right now, if you look in the Senate, MJ Huger versus Jim Cornyn right now, he has 48%. She's on neck and neck 46.8%. So these states are competitive, and usually whatever state that that goes to the Senate, the president will win that state. 9 times out, that's how that's going to happen. And so the first person, the 270, pretty much safely and securely is who's going to win this race. Now it's Biden is in Georgia, Biden is in Florida. They ran over there in Pflugerville. They ran the Joe Biden bus off of the road, Trump barricade. So there's a lot going on because they don't want Joe Biden to have a blue wave. And so if a blue wave happens, if Texas goes to the Senate in blue, that a lot is going to change in this state alone. If it goes to the Senate in blue, these states. Say it again,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Q, and I hate to do this, but I need everybody to understand why the Texas is transitioning from a red state to a purple state, so to speak, or what's called a toss-up state. What has happened is your major urban population centers, Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, Houston, El Paso. Those 4 areas usually predominantly are blue or Democratic. What's happened is because of the population boom and people spreading out, these rural counties that used to be solid Republican, they're not anymore. A lot of them have turned blue. So if you look at Denton County, you look at Ellis County, those 2 counties used to always solidly be blue. Now they're not. Because what's happening is you have a lot of college educated people that are moving to the suburbs like Allen, Plano, Richardson, Frisco, Little Elm, Prosper, and people are expanding out. And what's happening, this influx of not only people that are from the area, but you also have an influx because people wanted to bring businesses here. And because they bought businesses here, these businesses are bringing their people with them, and they're relocating from states that are usually blue, such as California. And when you have a multitude of people coming from California, where you have a house in California that may cost you like $6 million, and in the state of Texas, you can get it for $550,000. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna ball out. So they're going
Yep.
out to these rural areas and building these nice, luxurious homes, which they could not afford in California. And now they're coming here and they're building and they're bringing their values and their families with them, and it's changing the state and it's making people uncomfortable.
Right.
And this is the
That's a
reason
big
for
fact.
the running people off the road in Pflugerville down in Austin, is because you have a lot of people in these rural areas that don't feel comfortable with change.
Right. Right.
And this is happening because, and it doesn't make, the being uncomfortable with change is not what makes them bad people or what makes me question. Change is never easy for anybody. What makes it strange is you're going out and being violent about change, because that violence is the same violence that we saw during the civil rights movement. So if you're fighting so hard against this happening, then what's your shortcoming? Help explain to me, or somebody that looks like me, what are you so afraid of? Because if you're so afraid of being in the minority, then why aren't you treating those that are in the minority better? Because you know what being in the minority does. That means you get the short end of the stick and you last in line when you used to be in first in line.
It's coming out to a place where they're finally seeing themselves in that minority.
Mhm.
And they as we grow, because I mean, Black women are the most educated right now. More Black businesses have opened within the last couple of years than ever. You know, when you're seeing what you thought was your territory being taken over and you're not needed, we have choices now. It terrifies them.
And then let me
So
tell
they're
you
going to
too,
bully their way.
What I also noticed too, I was looking up something before I jumped on the show. I was looking up the because y'all know I like looking at graphs. So I was looking at the men versus women vote versus 2016 and 2020 so far. 2020, of course, is really not accurate because the deal has not been sealed. So you really can't rely on that information. But from 2008, 2012, 16, the male vote as a collective have decreased over 30%.
Really?
Let me tell you what they're trying to destroy. They're threatened of minorities. Don't get me wrong, but they want to kill the white woman vote. When Biden wins, white women will put him in there. That and let me tell you, it is because the voting right now, when I look the breakdown, African American women, which probably is classified, if you think about it, some that are biracial, mostly are biracial or of darker hue from different other places like Africa or whatever. They have their U.S. citizenship. They have our darker hue skin. They make you say that you're Black, or they'll classify you as that. You can pick your ethnicity, but over here, that's who you are. That's who they say you are. And so looking at the female vote, white women has always been at the top of the chain. When voting was made legal for women as a whole, women have always exercised their rights. And so now they're trying to destroy the female vote, because we know Kamala Harris is going to pull women from all over the place. Black, white, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. She is a woman that looks like somebody in this country. Whether you are Black, whether you are Asian, whether you are Indian, she can look that way too. So she's a representation of what I want my daughter to be a part of. And so they
I did
want
that with Barack Obama.
They want to kill the female vote.
I had to vote. It was not optional. I had to vote when he was running because my son looks like him. And I needed my son to see that. I needed him to understand that he could achieve that, because all he'd seen before were white men. He couldn't identify with that. But this is somebody in the highest place in our country that he could identify with because he's biracial.
Right. And this is what people need to understand, that women, and Q, you're right to a certain extent, but women outnumber men in this country.
What is it, 5-1 now?
5-1. 5-1. So with more women turning out to vote, the woman and the female vote is going to be very, very critical. Now, this is where people get lost, and they will take this, identifying certain things and then lying in political ads, because that's a topic we definitely have to discuss, but I'm not going to touch on it in depth. But what I'm going to say is, one of the things about women voters is the right to choose and the right to do what you want to with your body.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the abortion laws are very, very important to a lot of women, and having the right to choose what you do. Because not only are these abortion laws talking about abortion, they're also talking about contraceptives.
Mm-hmm.
And what people miss is that, they're okaying late-term abortions. Nobody's doing that. That's a straight up lie. But for those that are pro-life, I always ask them this question. If you're so pro-life, what about all the orphanages? What about all the kids that do not have somebody and that are being raised on the state dollar? What about all them kids?
And you
Where
making
you
it
at
so difficult to get them adopted?
Right. Where you at advocating for them to get adopted and for them to get placed? If you're so pro-life, then why isn't this also an issue? All you worried about is a woman's vagina. That's all you
That you're
worried
not
about.
getting.
Right. And here's the other part. They will protest outside of these clinics on a regular. I pass by a clinic. I guarantee you, every Saturday, there's at least 3 people out there with a picket sign. It's like, wait a minute. If you put this much time and effort into those orphanages and to helping curb some of the reasons that women are becoming pregnant and getting and giving their kids up for adoption, let's tackle those issues and tackle them at the root cause. Oh no, I don't want to do that.
But here's another thing. When I had my youngest son, he was born at 23 weeks. And if you know the law when it comes to premature babies, they're not legally required to even assist that child until after 24 weeks. So the doctor could have went, it's here, and put him on a table and walked out. And I couldn't have done anything about it. If you cared about pro-life, then and there are some places where at 23 weeks you can still get an abortion. If y'all cared, you would do something about the laws in that regard.
Yep.
And see, and I completely agree. When even then, especially when it comes to your bodies and things like that, I take it a step further. What about now? What are we doing to protect a woman's right to her body and what she wants to do with her body? There's so many people. Don't get me wrong. I'm taboo as it is. So it is enough with whatever. But what I don't like is they say like if a woman was raped, she was gang raped, for example, she get pregnant. How's she gonna know who the daddy is? How is she
wants a reminder of a horrible experience? Some people are not mentally capable of handling that.
Let me tell you, I have had a situation some years ago where a young lady, she had her baby. She was raped by multiple men, and she said, to me, she said, I had to really, really, think about what I was going to do with this child, because every day I look at this child as a bad experience. I don't see love. I don't have love. I don't have a connection. I don't have a motherly bone in my body. And I just said, well, sis, I think that maybe it took that child's advancement or what's the best thing for them, give the baby up for adoption. You know, don't rob the child because it ain't the child's fault how they come. You know, it's not their fault. You know, and so when you start looking at things like that, you know, that bothers me. And then to teach people how to raise their kids. Look, some of these kids need their ass whooped. How you gonna tell
We
me I
whoop
can't
ass
whoop
in
my
my
kids?
house.
How you gonna tell me that you can't whoop my kids? You gonna
Look
tell
at
me I can't whoop my kids?
It stay on my desk.
What you mean?
now, and this is where
But you can
again,
put them in gates, in cages.
right,
Yeah, don't put them in cages and don't starve them to death. You know,
right,
don't lock them in a closet. Don't
yeah.
do shit like that. Sit
And it's
down. I mean,
9 times out of 10, it's white folks that do it. And they're the, never mind. I
you
don't
know
even get
what
started.
bothered me? Y'all remember earlier this year, before the coronavirus started, y'all remember that ranch out there in whatever Texas it was. I don't know if it's one of them Chimichanga, Texas towns out there in the boondocks and down where them that man, that white man and that white woman had them 6 kids in a goddamn basement in
We don't
cages.
have basements here. That
I
was in
mean,
Yeah, we
California.
in that it was a room that they had. We look like but the kids thought it was a basement because they went,
Mm.
I don't know, some steps or something. But they had those kids tied up and starving them to death and beating them kids. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? And then you know what their responses was? Their responses was because we didn't want to have no kids and the state wouldn't take them, so we had to keep them. What the hell you mean? So you do them like this?
so
So we need laws to
right, and this is why it's important. And I understand that there are critical issues, right, for every person, and your priorities based on your view of the world, your priorities are going to be different. And this is why all these political ads, do you know, this is fact, you can go research it, that political ads do not have to be truthful. However,
Yep.
if you're advertising for any other good or service, it has to be factually based. And that goes across the board. And the exception is political ads. Why? Think about that. Why do political ads that are feeding a whole bunch of nonsense not have to be fact based? And guess who came up with that law? I'm not gonna say which side
Politicians?
came up with that law, but there in the state of Texas, there is a political party that pushed this very issue very hard. Go research it for yourself and find out. I ain't gonna say nothing because I don't want to sway your thought process. But if you want to have truth in politics, find out who pushed for politics and political ads to be the exception to truth in advertising. And you'll have your answer.
Mm-mm-mm.
we just love our wonderful state of Texas, don't
Don't
we? We just love the pecan trees and the armadillos that occasionally scurry across the freeway. We like to see the blue bonnets. I love the blue bonnets. That's one thing I love about Texas. Our blue bonnets are beautiful.
they
Hey,
are.
They are so beautiful. You
and
know,
they
they grow
don't take
nowhere else
away
here.
your guns.
Get your gun.
And be
Get
sure
your
and shoot them
gun.
inside the house, not outside, and kill them if you shoot them. But
Let
all right,
me tell you something. And see that's one issue. I'm glad, Rick. You see the right to bear arms. Let me tell you something. That
Oh,
is a
I got bear
right.
arms. I
dude,
got
the
bear
gun
arms.
show in Mesquite yesterday and today, you could not get through there. There was so much traffic.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, there's
And
some
it was
things that
the
I
hood part
disagree.
too.
There are some things that I disagree with our gun laws.
Absolutely.
Absolutely disagree with our gun laws. I think I'm an advocate of owning your own weapon and owning as many as you want to, and I am an advocate of having whatever kind of gun you want to, as long as it's something that's not an arsenal like a missile blower or something of that nature. You
A
don't need
grenade
nothing
launcher,
like that.
something like that. Now,
You need
this
nothing like that.
this is where people get lost in this. And they will say, oh, they're going to take away your right to own a gun. No, Democrats don't want that. What they want is common sense gun law. Now,
Right.
I am an avid gun owner. I am also a responsible gun owner. I also have my concealed to carry license. What this does is, and this is where I had to go through an extensive background check, not from the state of Texas, but from the federal government.
Why does that not surprise me?
And guess how long this ain't no quick wham bam, thank you, ma'am. This shit takes weeks. And in the coronavirus right now, during this time, I've heard some people that went to do their CHL class in June, and they're just now getting their licenses. They went and did their class in June, did the fingerprints, background check, everything like that in June. It is November, and they're just now getting their license. Now, granted, when I got mine, it took about 6 weeks. But still, this is the government doing an extensive background check, the FBI. To me, I don't see a problem with it. If I don't have anything to hide and I want to legally go buy guns, because right now what will happen, because I have my concealed handgun license, I can walk into a store, hey, I want that one. They'll swipe my little card, take about 10 minutes. I can walk out with that gun.
Without having to wait for 2 or 3 days.
Right. 2 or 3 days minimum. However, some background checks can take up to as long as a month, depending on your background. To me, if you have to wait, I don't see the problem. If you don't have anything to hide, you're not trying to do anything malicious, why do you have to just have anybody can just walk in and get it now? No, absolutely not.
Because you already know. Okay, so now you already know how the hood think. The hood think like this: if I give you that peak, who's to say that it won't keep you from peaking? You already know how some of them think. You know, some of our people, we think like, okay, like I know I got a cousin right now, no joke, that literally he covers up the lens on his cell phone camera so nobody can see him. You know, and that's all the time, you know, because people have it in their minds that we are constantly on watch. If you give the government anything, hell, the only thing that we want to give the government, honestly, Reggie, is a little bit of information to get my food stamps, my stimulus check, and whatever else I need to get. I ain't trying to get them, and I can get a gun on the street. Say it again, Arbor.
Let you finish your statement because I have a question about something. Go ahead.
So now I'm just saying to Rich, because I agree with him. I think that our gun laws, however long it take you to go through this background check, if you ain't got nothing to hide, what's up? You know, get your arsenal and be good with it. Do what you need to do. Put you a real nice ass gun cabinet in your crib and keep it pushing. But my thing is like, you know, what I try to tell people all the time, you know, it's not just really about hiding anything. It's about the fact that, you know, one day somebody won't mistake you for something. You see, I try to think about it like that, because how many times, Reggie, have we been somewhere and somebody said, oh, somebody that fits your description, the cops stop you and they fit your description, and you be like, bro, I just come from over here. Or you said the person was 5'10". You obviously clearly can see that I ain't but 5'8". You said that the person was 300 pounds. Clearly, you can see that I ain't even 300 pounds with 2 jackets on and a pair of pants. You know, and so a lot of that, you know, I'm with you, but we got to get out of that mindset that folk after us.
And here's the thing: if you're not doing anything to hide, what's the problem? Because
Right.
I know what happens is when you go in and buy a gun, the federal government keeps a list of every gun that you buy and the serial number. I have a small arsenal. No problem. When I get pulled over, because my concealed handgun license is tied to my driver's license and tied to my license plate, the officer knows, oh, he has a license to carry. And instead of pulling out my driver's license,
you pull out your license to carry
license.
license.
My concealed carry license.
Right.
And I say, here you go, officer. I do not have any guns in the car. Or I have a gun in the car, and this is where it is. Now, in these situations, because I have my concealed carry license, what will usually happen is the officer will say, well, sir, do you mind stepping out the car? Now, when you go to your training, they will tell you that to be on the safe side, because if you have a firearm in the car, it is reasonable for the officer to ask you to step out the car. In my case, I don't have a problem with that. I have my CATL. Okay, I'm legally licensed to carry my gun. Do you mind stepping out while I run your background check? Not a problem. No issues. Okay, I step out. It's not to put you in a precarious situation. What it is to protect the officer and their safety. Because if you sitting in the car and they know you got a gun and you get fidgety, they gonna get fidgety too. And a lot of the times, hey, I'll step out the car if you need me to. That's the first one. Here's my CATL. I'll step out the car if you need me to. Okay, sir, go ahead and step out the car. It puts them at ease. But what people got to stop thinking is, oh, the government watching me, the government watching me. I'm sorry. If you have social media, you have a cell phone, you have bills.
You willingly give up all your information. Hey, I need to go open my door. I'll be right back. Y'all keep going.
Okay. You can be tracked, and what people don't understand is all of the information that you're putting out on the internet, your social media, all this stuff is stored in a database that can be tracked. Now, you want to put a lens over your cameras and all that stuff, that's fine. But wait a minute, where did Q and Arbor go? So I guess it's just the Hendrix show. I don't know. But hey, it's cool. But with all that being said, the real reason that we need to make sure that these gun laws are put in place and they're stronger is because the school shootings, those happen. Then you have the people that are not mentally stable. And if you do the background check, that proves that, hey, you have a history where you don't need to be owning a gun. Now, what most people don't realize is the NRA is against this. They're against background checks, unless somebody that looks like me, owning a bunch of guns, then it's a problem. Oh no, you need to do a background check. But if you're of European descent, oh no, it's okay for you to own a gun and own as many as you want to. But for members like me, for people like me, they find it interesting that we have a lot of guns and you have all these white militias showing up. Then when you have a black militia shows up and shows that just as many black people have just as many guns and are just as armed as you are, then oh shit, yeah, it's a problem. Just because we don't go showboating and shit with our weapons, don't mean we don't have the motherfuckers. I'm trying to figure out why both of you motherfuckers jumped off camera at the same time.
I don't know why he jumped off camera. I had to go and let my son in.
It was an accident. What happened was something popped up across my cell phone and I was trying to move it and knock myself out.
Okay, so the question that I had that related somewhat to all of this, and it's a two-part question. I was told that the census has something to do with the Electoral College. That when it counts your numbers, that's what gives them a guide to how many Electoral College votes your area or your state gets, or something like that. What is that about?
Okay. Well, what it does is it divides up your state's Electoral College votes. Now, that has to be a significant change in population for that to happen. But what the census is really for is to determine the priority and the amount of money each city and state is getting. This is why it's also important to complete the census, because again, if you're not represented, then your state, your city does not get the funding to support the number of people in that area. These are your tax dollars that are going to the federal government that are then coming back to support projects in your area. And if you are not counted, that means you're giving other people your money that the federal government is taking out your check every time you get paid.
What you eating, Q? Because you sure making it look like it look good. Bugles.
He just mad it ain't her.
You know, they're my favorite. Bugles are my favorite.
I think you've had.
She knows that already.
Had them a few times on the shows.
I love Bugles. I love cheese Bugles.
I will
So,
keep a note of
so
that.
I also in regards to the census, everybody, like Andrew said, you know, the census is very, very important. And of course, it's too late to do it now. But the you all also is real key to also see who is that the 13-year-old?
That's my 13-year-old.
Happy birthday, man.
Thanks.
Like that edge up.
That's Aiden.
Yes, that's Aiden.
Mm-hmm.
Reggie said he likes that edge up. Thank you.
Yeah,
His voice is changing. It's getting deep, and I'm just not ready for any of this. Oh, and because one can't be seen without the other.
What's up, man?
Say hi. Hi. All right, now get on my camera.
Wow. All right, man. Good to see you. So, you know, and that's what I was going to say. That's another thing important about the U.S. Census, that it controls funding, you know, for how your kids learn. Listen, there is a difference. I'm sorry to say this. I'm not being funny, but there is a difference between DISD and Plano ISD. There is a difference between DISD and Richardson
EISD and everybody.
There is a difference between Grand Prairie ISD and Fort Worth ISD. There is a difference between Arlington ISD and Hearst ISD. There is a difference.
I will tell you like this, Q. You remember, because I didn't spend my entire career, high school career at Kimball. I came my sophomore year, which is funny. Most people don't realize this because I knew so many people when I came in, but I had family and friends already in Oak Cliff going to Kimball. So I knew quite a few people when I transferred over to Kimball. But I came from Garland. And when I came to Kimball, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna need y'all to catch up. I'm gonna need y'all to catch up because this ain't gonna work for me. I'm bored as hell. And I'm way past all this shit y'all doing. I'm like, you know, I'm a couple of years ahead of y'all, but I need y'all to come on with it. But what happened was I understood that when you have a student to teacher ratio that is ridiculous, I had never seen a class with 30 kids in it. When I came to Kimball, having 30 kids in a class was the norm. I had never seen that. At most, it was 20. 20 kids in a class. That was it. That was it. But I come over to DISD, and it's like, it's 30 kids in this class. What the
How many can we pack in this bitch?
Yeah. I mean, not only that, coming, you know, from a white school district to a black school district, that was a culture shock in the first place because I had never been around that many black people all at the same time. I loved it for about the first 6 months. Then it was like, this shit irritating. Y'all niggas getting on my nerves. It's too much shit going on in the school.
Yes.
Having to go through a metal detector every single day, that shit was trippy. I went through a metal detector. We moved to Garland. We moved back to Texas when I was going into the 5th grade. So from the 5th grade to the 9th grade, I'm in a white school. I went through a metal detector a total of 2 times. I can't even count how many times I went through a metal detector at Kimball. Hell, I can count the days I didn't go through the metal detector, which was 0.
I don't think I ever went through a metal detector. And I went to all the quote unquote black schools, but we didn't have them problems.
What black school did you go to?
I was in Tyler. So I went to John Tyler, which is now Tyler High.
That's not black school.
We played y'all in football. That's not black school.
In Tyler, that is the black school.
Oh, gotcha. To us, that ain't no
No,
black school.
we cannot compare with, Stock and Kimball and all that. No, Skyline, we can't equal that kind of ghetto. But
Wait a minute. We was in, let me tell you something. We was one of the only black schools in Dallas and in Texas that was 5A.
we were
Because
5A.
our select,
We
yes,
were
we were
5A for a
5A.
while, and then we went to 4A.
Yeah, it was
We were
us,
5A for a long time.
Carter and it was Carter, Kimball, and Skyline. Those were the only 3 black schools that were 5A.
Mm-hmm.
We were. Who did we play?
That's why we played John Tyler.
We played Kimball. We played Sock. We played Carter. And I think we played Mesquite.
Yeah, Mesquite's not a black school.
Well,
It's in the black neighborhood of a white area.
Yeah.
But it's not a black school because most of the people there are white. Sorry, I
And
grew
see,
up there.
and John Tyler was in, like, they had some Section 8 apartments across the street, but that was as ghetto as it got.
All I know is that was the only game that our coach was okay with us losing.
Why?
Because they had fundamentals. We had raw talent in football at Kimball. We had raw talent. But where John Tyler would always beat us was they had fundamentals. We could beat John Tyler with speed. We could beat them with skills, raw skills. But when it came to fundamentals, this is where they would always take over the game in the fourth quarter. Because we'd run all over John Tyler the first 2.5, 3 quarters. But they would always beat us in the fourth quarter because we were gassed and they had good sound fundamentals, which is why they won a few state championships. They had, and I have to give it to them. They had very good fundamentals. And they
most of John Tyler started at 3. That's how Tyler is. That's how Texas is most of the time. But they started at 3 and they rose them up that way.
But this is the other thing. When you have a small city like that, just like in Garland, right? I ran the same offensive and defensive system from 5th grade to 9th grade. It was exactly the same, exact same play calls. You might have a little twist here and there, but this is how they build in a program to help kids understand. And what this does is, this is what the football team did for fun at Lakeview. We ran a play, then we would do the play in reverse. So you run a play full out, whistles blown, then you walk back through the play back.
Wow. I would be on my ass confused.
Again, this is what you do to condition the mind to fully understand the program. You go through it forward, full speed, and backwards, and then that's what happens. But with that same mentality, right? You take that same mentality, you go through something, and this is why my parents were so critical about the Republican Party coming to Kimball and trying to say, hey, vote, do this, because they said in their head, if we get them while they're young and we feed them this same message over and over and over and over again, we will get them. And it'll be hard because all they're going to do is go backwards in their mind, and we're going to be the ones being there in their ear telling them what's right and what's wrong.
I mean, and traditionally, they're not wrong. Because we go to the same church our mom and them did. We go, you know what I mean? Like, we are culturally built that way.
And again, understanding who your audience is why it's so important for parents to step in and say, hey, do your own research. Just don't take our word for it. Don't take their word for it. Go research it for yourself and come up with your own opinion. When you come up with your own opinion, you'll take a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And this is why I call myself an independent, because I agree with some of the stuff Republicans say. Like, yes, you need to have businesses. Yes, you need to have, ways for businesses to make money and be competitive. But where I agree with the Democrats is you have to have and understand the fact that for a business, your most important asset is your people. And why is Alexandria on the screen? Why is AOC on the screen? You're muted.
It's
You know
a
that, right?
it's a Go Vote commercial that I found on Facebook, and I just thought it was hilarious.
Let's
So
see.
we've got like 15 minutes left, and I'm gonna play this, and then I'm gonna go through a few questions that I had them on here just so see what kind of answers I get.
And
So
I'm
let's,
still here, guys. I'm still here.
all right, let's see what Alexander's doing. Wait for it. Oh my God.
Well, at least they captured everybody and they did everybody equally dirty.
Yes, they
I will
did.
say that. I will say that. They did everybody equally dirty. That
Yeah.
was Now, okay. Come on with the questions.
All right. Let's start simple. For people who don't know, how do they look up or find polling stations?
This is easy. Go to vote.org. Vote.org will give you the polling locations wherever you're at in the country. All you do is put in your zip code and it will tell you exactly the location of where to go vote. Here's the great part about vote.org. Once you get those polling locations, they really don't change too much. They're really pretty much the same places. Like in Oak Cliff, one of the places people know to go vote is Friendship West Baptist Church.
Mm-hmm. And they're consistent about it. They're always there.
And it's even in the new building. Even when Friendship West was in the old building, it was still a polling location.
I can do it. That's how it was back home. All right. So this one says, what happens if I'm still in line when the polls close?
If you are still in line when the polls close, stay in line. They have to allow you to vote. Do not get out of line just because it's 7:30 and you still in line. They have to allow you to vote. If anybody tries to deny you that right, again, go to vote.org and you can report their ass. And trust me, somebody be out there real lickety split because voter suppression is real and they are trying to stop people from voting. Now, when I say they, who do I mean? They are the same people that believe that lower voter turnout is good for them. I'm not going to say their name, but you can go research it and find out who they are because these same people that don't like high voter turnout put all these hurdles in place for people to be able to vote. In my head, if you get your driver's license, you should automatically be registered to vote. If you get an ID, which you need, you should automatically be required to, be able to vote, period. But they don't want that. However, these same people say, oh no, it's not okay for you to do a background check on me to own a gun, but you need an ID and all this other stuff to be able to vote.
Yeah.
Think about it.
I hear you. Now, what if I can't get to the polling station on Tuesday?
Now, because it is Sunday, I would have said normally early vote. However, if you cannot get to the polling location on Tuesday, polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you cannot get to the polling location, because of your job situation, that is not an excuse. Your job has to allow you 2 hours to go and vote.
Really?
Yes. If your work hours are from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., your job has to allow you ample time to go and vote. Period. That is a federal law. A
Did not know.
federal law. Yes. And here's the other thing. All you have to do is tell your HR representative, I would like to go vote at this time. Now, being is that it's a business, they have to do a rotation to allow people to go vote and still run their business. However, they have to allow you 2 hours to go and vote. Federal law.
And if for whatever reason you still cannot make it within that time, explain to them what absentee voting is.
Oh, okay. Absentee voting usually has to occur prior to voting, so prior to election day, because if you know you're not going to be able to vote, you should have already requested an absentee ballot because it has to be mailed in or dropped off. But with that being said, it has to be dropped off and delivered, preferably prior to election day. Some states, and it varies from state to state, will allow you to drop off day of election. Some even take those absentee ballots up to 3 days after the election. I cannot speak on all 50 states and the District of Columbia and all the other territories of the U.S. What I can say is that if you go to vote.org, you can find out all this information. You see a pattern here?
Yeah.
Vote.org.
But it's funny, and I'm doing this on purpose because so few people will actually take the time just to go look it up. Well, I didn't know. Nobody told me. Okay, well, if you were really concerned about it, you would go research it. But
if you can find out what Nicki Minaj is doing, if you can get on Facebook, if you can find out what the Kardashians are up to, if you can find out what traffic and weather is, there's no excuse for you.
I asked Alexa what traffic and weather is. So.
But what I'm saying is, what's the device you use to look them up?
Mm-hmm.
So the device,
the same device that you use for everything else, you can use to go get this information. But you're lazy and you don't do it, and you feel like your vote doesn't count, and all that other shit that I hear people saying. All right, so this one was a funny question to me. There's two questions. The first one is, what happens if there is a tie in the Electoral College?
The way the Electoral College is set up, there cannot be a tie. What will happen is one person will get more votes than the other. So what will happen is, if it's close, it'll be 270 to 269. You cannot have a tie. It's an odd number. So there is no way for there to be a tie.
Okay. And last one for me says, what if Trump refuses to accept the election results?
If Trump refuses to accept the electoral, the vote, this is where Congress would have to step in and remove him from office. Because at that point, he's actually committing an act of treason. And treason is punishable by death. So if he refuses to accept the results after they have been certified, they have to be certified results, not CNN calls it this or NBC or Fox News calls this. No. Once the results are certified, he has to respect that. And if he wins, he gets to stay. If he loses, he has to vacate the premises on the second weekend in January. Because most places you get kicked out of, they give you a 30-day notice.
He already knows.
President, huh?
He already knows whether he's going or not.
Well, again, you
have from November to January.
Yeah, so usually it's the second weekend in January. It's a 30-day notice, typically. But what happens is most of the time the election will be called, but it will not be certified until around Thanksgiving. But then you have Thanksgiving, you have Christmas, you have New Year's. And these are things that if you're living in government housing, which the White House is government housing, you will have 30 days to vacate the premises. Now, this is usually not a problem. In the past, a peaceful transfer of power has always happened. It happened between Bush and Obama. It happened between Obama and Trump. It has always been this peaceful, cordial thing where the president in office packs up their shit and they leave peacefully. And then they greet the other couple as they're entering the White House, and it's not handing them the keys because there are no keys, but basically handing over the keys to the house.
Right. So, when I researched it, there was a couple of things that I found out.
Mhm.
That if he does refuse and he wants to call a recall on the votes to have them, a recount on that Congress can displace him and put in Pelosi as acting until the term comes. And the initial certification goes into December. It's I want to say it's like the 13th of December or something like that.
I knew it was around Thanksgiving that time, so I might be a little off. But either way, you get 30 days.
I didn't know until I investigated for this show, and I really still don't care. But in case somebody needs to know that, there's some more useless information. But they have it situated where no one will take charge, and Pelosi can do it if neither one somehow end up not qualifying. Pelosi will stay in office until someone qualifies to take the presidency. That's scary.
Yeah, well, this is why the whole thing about voting, because Nancy Pelosi runs the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives is basically a representation of each and every county in the U.S. Rough. I mean, because of political lines and redlining, how all these counties are drawn up kind of funky instead of just being the county that is listed as the county. Fuck Trump. Hey, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. So, Brian, it's actually a good excuse. What's actually a good excuse?
And then he said it's impossible. So what's a good excuse and what's impossible?
People don't want. Hey, April, how you doing, sweetie? She cool with me because she was a Saints fan, but then later I found out she was only a Saints fan because her man was a Saints fan.
Oh,
yeah, that kind of
fair weather.
Well, her man at the time, huh?
Don't be putting her on blast like that. April's my friend.
Well, it's fact. I'm not putting her on blast. I was cool with her because I thought she was a Saints fan, and I found out she was only a Saints fan because her man at the time was a Saints fan. But I mean, I still gave her props because she had a fly ass jersey, but it just happened to be a poor player. The jersey looked nice. Just I don't agree with the player she was wearing. But
I need to Amazon some stuff for this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't know, because Brian won't make me anything that has Pittsburgh on it. So, but I ain't gonna hold against him.
What other questions you got for me? Because it's past my bedtime.
Oh, last one. I think. When can felons vote?
Every state is slightly different on this issue. Most states say that once you have served your time and you're finished with probation, you're good to vote. However, the state of Florida tried to do something slick. And again, they did something slick because they said that if your dues are not paid to the state, then you can't vote. This is why Bloomberg spent $32 million to enable ex-felons the right to vote, and he paid off all their dues to the state.
Damn.
Yeah, facts. But they, and research who they is, tried to do this to suppress the vote and lower voter turnout. Because if you lower voter turnout, then they are more likely to win.
So April said Electoral College votes December 14th, and the hearing to certify goes in on January 6th.
Okay. So
We were close-ish.
I'm sorry, April. Thank you for the exact facts. I appreciate it. I had the idea. I'm sorry. I mean, I can't remember every fucking thing.
You done changed clothes and changed rooms. What you doing?
What you talking about?
He look like he's gonna go out.
About to do some bald-headed hoe shit?
I'm going to work.
Oh, okay.
That's what we calling it now?
Absolutely. Hey,
It's
April.
freaking out.
You know what? Good.
Oh, he putting on the aftershave too? Okay, yeah.
Man, y'all
Everything be
crazy.
dry looking. Where the lip balm at? I said, where the lip balm at?
The what?
The lip balm.
Oh, it's in my bag.
See, if you going to work, why you got a bag?
Because I need my bag at work.
That's his whole bag. Look at it. See, he can't even answer.
You see my fan?
HHS.
Yeah,
Bald-headed hoe shit.
Bald-headed hoe shit. Well, look, I'm bald-headed, and I take offense to that because I don't do hoe shit.
That we know of. You taught me something a couple weeks ago that I ain't never heard in my life.
What?
So UCR.
Oh, yeah. But okay. Okay, what you need to understand is when I am with my woman, right? I'm with my woman, there are very few limitations.
Oh, Lord.
So,
Here we go. Here we go.
When you are with your mate, there should not be any limitations. Whatever makes your mate happy, if you're comfortable doing it, it should be done. If these rules and understandings are known up front before any physical activities happen, then hey, you know about them. You know it's your role and your duty to please.
I don't know that I've ever heard anybody make the choke and stroke sound so intelligently planned.
The chosen stroke.
Choke and stroke.
Oh, choke and stroke. Well, I mean, again, if it's what you're into, if you can have an open conversation about your sexual exploits with your mate, that's a problem.
Fact.
And I make it known. I have 2 rules, right? 2 rules.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Oh, here we go.
I don't do no gay shit, and you ain't sticking nothing.
We are called spiritually ratchet for a reason.
Yeah, no gay shit, and you ain't sticking nothing up in me. Everything else we can talk about. Those 2 are off the table. Not saying I'm gonna agree.
Isn't that the
saying
same
I'm gonna
thing?
agree to everything, but at least we can talk about them. Those 2 things are absolutely no.
But aren't those 2 things the same thing?
No. And I found this out when I visited Atlanta.
Oh shit.
This is where I found out that some straight men like stuff being stuck up in them. I didn't know this because in my head, if you sticking something up in a guy, you gay. Now again, I don't have a problem with gay men. Do
It's
your
called
thing.
pegging.
That's you. But for me, that's just a no-go. I'm sorry, we can't do that. So I had to make that definitively clear. I don't do no gay shit, and you ain't sticking nothing up in me. Just to be crystal clear.
So if anybody is gonna step to Reggie, understand. Those are his rules.
I am the man. I have the instrument for the stick. You have 3 holes that are for my pleasure. And all 3 should be open for business. If you can't get down with that, I understand. I respect your thought process, and I bid you adieu.
Who said deuces?
Reggie, go ahead for everyone's knowledge and name the three holes, please.
Um, your oral cavity, your vagina, and your rectal
Makes
cavity.
it so intelligently placed. Like it's not even dirty anymore when he says it.
I'm too through. I am done.
Or the way I like to say it, your UCR. UCR. Your uvula, your cervix, and your rectum.
On that note, I think I'm going to work.
Well, give us your thoughts for the week. Tomorrow is Monday. My birthday is Tuesday. Election day is Tuesday. We all gonna be drinking. So
Woohoo! Oh, you want me to give my final thought, or are you talking to Reggie?
give your final thought because you said you got to go to work.
I gotta go to work. Yes. First off, thanks so much for having me on the show, even though I was on and off and on and off. Hey everybody that's watching, do us a favor and please catch Match Gas this week and stuff like that, because we're gonna be on for 2 weeks in November. If I have a thought for you guys on tonight, I would say do me a favor and check on your loved ones. Check on your loved ones, make sure everybody's doing okay, make sure everybody's doing good. And we're in a coronavirus kind of way of life now, so respect people's mental space. Everybody is dealing with things in their own way, and so I've been going through a whole lot. These last couple of weeks have been very, very hard for me and my family. And so the thing is that I want everybody to just respect everybody and respect what they're doing. And hopefully, let's see what kind of result we get on Super Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. Like Reggie say, get your butt out there and vote. Don't be scared. Don't let nobody discourage you from voting. Get on out there and vote. I've seen many people take some garden chairs out there and sit down in that way. Just keep your 6 feet distance, your hand sanitizer, your mask, and your gloves, and take you a nice, good old stylist so you won't have to be touching stuff like that and touching them. So make sure you do that and stay safe. And like I said, it's so good to be moving around. And I will talk to y'all in a little bit. Y'all have a good night.
Have a good night at work.
I will. I shall call you if you're awake.
All righty.
Okay. All right, Reggie. See you in a little bit.
All right.
Come on.
So I guess it's my turn.
All right.
So I guess it's my turn for the word.
Yes, unless you want to take him.
No. See, I love kids, but I like sending them home. Kids love me, but they gotta go home. Because if they not from my loins and I'm not dating your mama, I'm not gonna deal with you too much. I'm sorry. But my words for the week. Give people their flowers while they're alive. In the last week, I've had 2 classmates pass. One got shot in a senseless killing that he wasn't even involved in. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Had another classmate that I just found out about Friday morning that she died of cancer. Hadn't talked to either one of them a lot in the last couple of years. The funny part was Tori and I were just chopping it up because I was teasing them about the Cowboys having a horrible season. And it's just funny the last thing people post on their Facebook page. So this is why you always got to be mindful of what you post, because his last post on Facebook was him at the club, curious about why a woman was pulling so much stuff out of her titties.
That's not funny, but it's
But if you knew Tori, you would understand he's goofy. He was goofy like that. He would find something abstract and just focus on it and bring it to everybody's attention. Like, what, dude? Because his post read, I wonder what's next. She done pulled out some cigarettes, a phone, a wallet, some money, her keys, a lighter. I'm thinking, what the hell next you pulling out of there?
She gonna pull out a bottle next.
Yeah.
So she gonna pull out a bottle.
Yeah.
April says she had so many people from her hometown in Indiana have passed within the last month of cancer and COVID.
Yeah. Thankfully, I'm very thankful that my family listens to me about scientific stuff because I am the scientist in the family. So my family listened when I told them everything up front. So everything, if you go back and watch Master Gas from back in March and April, everything that I was telling people then, my family took hold of it and remained true to it. We haven't, my little brother was being a dumbass. He caught COVID, but thankfully he survived. But everybody else was like, no, we not playing with this. If Reggie say it's serious, we gonna take it seriously. So listen to a scientist and not people that say, oh, you being a sheep. Well, fuck that. If being a sheep keeps me safe, fuck you.
And that's what it is.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law just passed from cancer. And I found out a classmate passed and her funeral was today. And then obviously we had the Sean Connery and Rance Allen yesterday. So I'm so over 2020. I don't know what to do because it's every week. We haven't gone a week without somebody connected in some way or.
Yeah. When Kobe Bryant passed at the beginning of the year, that should have been our signal. It's going to be a fucked up year.
Right. And they were already investigating COVID then.
Yeah.
They already knew about it and it didn't do shit. So
well,
I'm
not that they didn't know anything. They
knew
trying
about
to understand the ramifications and trying to understand how widespread it was. So yes, but you don't want to cause public alarm either.
Guess he shouldn't have fired the whole pandemic team.
Right. Well, this is what happened with Ebola and the whole Ebola outbreak. And there were 2 deaths and people wanted Obama kicked out of office. 2 in the entire country.
And we are over 200 million?
No, we're at
over 200,000?
Over 220,000 deaths.
But we don't want him to go to jail, right?
Yeah, they want to bring up Ebola and what's that what is that damn thing? It's a place they was talking about Hillary Clinton with. I can't remember.
Russia?
Nah, it was Benghazi. So between those two things, herd immunity is not scientifically sound for dealing with people. If you're dealing with animals and you don't give a shit about them, fine. But
really?
But if you are a scientist and you have people looking into people dying, herd immunity is full of bullshit. And this is from a scientist. Now, for people that don't believe me, I'll give you my credentials. So you understand the length of science.
We got a lot of credentials, y'all.
Yeah. So I am number 1, a chemical engineer from, Dr. Fauci's against this. Okay. It makes sense. However, I am a chemical engineer from Texas A&M. That's number 1. Number 2, I have spent 20 years in quality, in food safety, in dietary supplements, pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals, and the dairy industry. I don't drink milk. 50% of my job is pathogen mitigation.
That would be really cool, but I wouldn't want to do it for a living.
Well, yeah, it's a lot of reading because the federal code, the Code of Federal Regulations, or the CFR, is about 600 pages long, and that's just one guideline that you have to audit against. Then you have the FDA regs, Then you have the USDA regs. And if your company is trying to be world class, you have SQF and BRC codes. And they're all about anywhere from 6 to 1,300 pages long. And yeah, I know all of them.
And this is why we call you the intellectual. But hey, I'm gonna say biosexual, so talk nerdy to me. I like that shit. All right. See, I got it. Finally. I was waiting to see when I can make you do that today. I did it. Mission accomplished. Me and Shimby were talking about it earlier.
No, I'm not blushing because you made me blush. What I'm blushing at and what I'm laughing at is because, yeah, I'll just say that for another time.
Okay, don't leave the screen when we're done. All right, so my thought for the week, obviously protect yourselves, mask, gloves, hand sanitizer, charge your vibrators, and just keep it spiritually ratchet, you know, meditate. Absolutely. You never know when you're gonna need it. Keep them charged. It's important.
Okay. What about men?
I have a thing called Get a Grip with some whipped lubricant. It's wonderful, but you don't have to charge it.
Okay.
Well, again, we'll discuss all of this in just a moment. So meditate and cuss, eat fruit and wings, hydrate with water and whiskey, praise the Lord, and twerk for spinal health.
Oh, goodness.
That's how we keep it spiritually ratchet up in here. I appreciate all of you guys for hanging out. And next week will actually be an all-male show. I'm going to have a panel of guys on here telling us females what they think we need to know. That should be interesting. I wonder how many honest answers I'm going to get.
Depends on who.
Am
I invited to this?
Absolutely, you're invited to this because I know you ain't going to lie.
Yeah, well, there you go.
You might hurt some people's feelings, but you know.
Well.
Yeah. All right, guys, enjoy your week and go and vote.